I like to ask, what's the procedure? How does this work? What are we supposed to be doing? Bob or?
Sure. So this is the Board of Finance. So the Board of Finance meets annually, and they're the ones who basically invest the city's dollars. Um, and every year you have two members that are appointed to the board, and you basically meet with I forget who they are with from First, I think it's First Source Bank. And basically you meet with them and they go over the finances and explain how they do their investment policy, if there's any changes, et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically, I think, once or twice a year, I believe. Mr. Willis is here if you want to clarify.
Yes, Kyle was the city controller. So First Source Investors, the city has an investment portfolio of about 200 million. So they invest those proceeds throughout the year in various investment tools or instruments, CDs, money markets. Um, I want to say you might have joined us for at least one of these calls throughout the year. So we have annual, quarterly reviews on the portfolio to see how they're doing. Um, so they'll just give us like that update for, uh, like recently we just had one for year end 2025. So they were just going over how the portfolio did for the year, kind of, and then kind of looking at what's to come for 2026. But also you'll get that uh, that information in the presentation this afternoon. So
So who did we have last year?
Yeah, last year it was myself and I don't remember.
We haven't found that out yet.
I want to say, I don't remember if it was Troy or Ms. Karen.
Pardon me?
I want to say maybe it was Councilmember Warner.
I don't recall. We
Mhm.
were looking for it on Wednesday and didn't find it.
Okay. Well, I know I was there because I
Right.
sat into some of the,
You were the president.
yeah.
I believe it
moved in
was Councilman Troy Warner.
Yeah.
as
that's what I'm
secretary.
thinking.
Um, if, if you're interested, I move to nominate Councilmember Sheila Needskatsky for president of the board.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other nominations? Oh, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you. Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations? Is there any other nominations?
I do not see any additional nominations.
Okay, then the nomination process is closed, and I believe now we take the vote for that position. Okay. Could you call the roll, please?
Yep. Councilmember Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember Karen White,
Aye.
Councilmember Rachel Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
President Lee,
Aye.
Councilmember McBride, Councilmember Warner, Councilmember Bolden Simpson, Councilmember Dr. Davis. I have 4 A's. Oh, I'm sorry. Councilmember Neskotsky.
Aye.
My apologies.
That's okay.
Most importantly, I have 5 A's present. And yes,
So that-
And now you accept nominations for secretary.
Okay, thank you kindly. Thank you for the nominations and thank you for the council members' support. Is there any nominations for secretary? I'll nominate Karen White.
Second?
Okay, there's been a nomination and it's been seconded. Is there any other nominations for secretary? Is there any other nominations for the secretary?
I do not see any additional nominations on the floor for secretary.
Okay, thank you. Then there has been a motion made and seconded. Could you call the roll call, please? Or can we just go by acclamation?
Should do roll call.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Fulya Rogers,
Aye.
Councilmember White,
Aye.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Councilmember Nisgowsky,
Aye.
sorry, President Nisgowsky. Yeah,
That's
okay.
okay.
Council President Lee.
Aye.
I have 5 ayes.
Okay, thank you. Karen White will be the secretary for the Board of Finance. Okay, so now we're going to move along to the review of the 2025 investment report. Mr. Willis, are you giving that report or who is giving the report?
Sorry, I am not giving the report. Paul Gifford from First Source, who oversees the investment portfolio, will be giving that report today. So
Okay.
they are attending virtual.
Okay, thank you. Hi, how are you today? If you want to give your name and address for the record and proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, Paul Gifford, Chief Investment Officer, First Source Bank, 100 North Michigan, South Bend. In the presentation, you can turn to the investment review for the city of South Bend with my name on it. And then the next several pages you will see in the presentation are economic data that we share with Kyle and his team regularly. And probably the biggest thing that you need to know out of this is, one, we believe the U.S. economy is going to continue to grow. And two is that the part where interest rates will likely be lowered by the Federal Reserve later this year. And what that ultimately means is that the investment portfolio will slowly see its yield go down. I'm sure you are all aware the state of Indiana and your investment policy is relatively restrictive. You can buy U.S. Treasuries, government agencies, CDs, and Indiana municipal bonds if the yield is attractive. And most of those investments need to have a maturity of 2 years or less. And then you can have a small portion allocated 2 to 5 years, which you have permitted in the investment policy. If you flip to the actual portfolio, do you want me to share my screen or are you seeing it? I'm sorry, Councilman.
Share. I think he should share his screen.
Yeah, I believe they're trying to pull it up.
Okay, let me share. Are you able to see that now?
Yes.
Yes. Thank
Very
you.
good. Not a problem. We occasionally do the technology pretty well. Basically today, this is, or as of 12/31, this is where the portfolio stood. As Kyle said, portfolio is $200 million, was the principal invested, and as interest rates change, it might be a little bit more or less than that. About 45% of the portfolio currently is invested in what we consider cash, so this would be treasury bills and certificates of deposit. Right now, the way that yields are in the portion of the curve that you are able to buy, the shorter the maturity, actually, the higher the yield. So this is probably the highest, quote, cash balance that we've seen in the portfolio in the years that we have been managing it. The fixed income portion is measured basically by U.S. Treasury bonds, government agencies, and that makes up the 54% of the portfolio. The next page is basically a 5-year reconciliation of the portfolio. And you can see the portfolio has been basically around $200 million in size. And in the last year, we've paid out over $9 million of interest. That's that net withdrawals. The way the arrangement with the city is the money is collected from interest payments on those bonds. That is returned back to the city's checking account. So in the last year, just over $9.1 million was returned to the city in interest income. The next several pages, I'd be glad to go through them if you would like. Otherwise, I would like to go to a summary page of performance. I'll give you the option if you would like me to share the details of the portfolio.
I think if you could give a brief summary or so
Okay.
everybody has an understanding about the investment.
Yep, I'll quickly show you the buckets, you can see we have money market, which is basically the cash. If the city were to call up today and need cash, this is the first bucket we go to. It trades at $1 and is invested in very short-term government securities, which are approved by your policy in the state of Indiana. We have a nice weighting to 20 million in treasury bills that mature over the next couple months. As I said, those that are the shortest maturity currently have the highest yield. And then we move into the certificates of deposit. As I am buying and from maturities in the portfolio, I look at all your investment options, and those typically with the highest yield end up getting allocated. I'll be honest, banks haven't been demanding a lot of deposits, so most of the investments have gone into treasuries or government agencies. These are CDs that I have bought over the last couple years for the portfolio. And then we get into the government agencies and treasury bonds. You'll see at the near the bottom of the page. Once again, those are where most of the investments have been going on the last 12 to 18 months in particular. Give you a quick snapshot of the portfolio. Earned 4.5%. That's the very top number here. In the last year, that's the $9.1 million in interest that was paid out to you. Over the last 3 years, it's averaged 4.8%. And I included a 5-year number. A lot of our boards and municipalities that we work like to see a 5-year number. If you think back to 5 years ago, that would have been 12/31 of 2020. And obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, and interest rates at that time had gone to zero. Basically for most of the portfolio, 0 to 1% is where most of the investments were. So that's why you see a much lower number on the 5-year return, but the last couple of years have been very good. At the bottom, we worked with Kyle to come up with a benchmark that we've used over the last couple of years. While we underperformed a little bit this year, the main reason is we didn't have as many 3+ year maturities in the portfolio. Your portfolio requires really 1 to 2 year maturities. But if you can see clearly added value above the benchmark and what other cash alternatives were over the 3 and 5 years. So we're pretty happy with how that portfolio goes. Obviously, we meet with Kyle and his team quarterly. You also have those invites. We'd be glad to see you at a meeting or answer any questions right now.
Okay, does anybody have any questions at this point? Sure.
I was just curious how you come up with the benchmark.
So the benchmark is really trying to reflect how the portfolio is invested. And a majority of, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get on the right page again. Majority of the investments are treasury-like investments, and the state statutes are 0 to 2 years with a small portion from 2 to 5 years. So the 1 to 3 year treasury seem to be an appropriate benchmark because it is slightly different than cash. So we've worked with the city over the years. I think this is our 14th year working with you. And that's the benchmark that we've kind of come on. And we know that there will be years, depending on how interest rates change, that will underperform simply based on what the state statutes are versus the benchmark.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
President Lee?
Good afternoon. Knowing that our economy is kind of, we've had some downs in our economy. How optimistic are you guys looking to see that our investments are going to increase?
So with the way the state statutes are drafted, you have a pretty tight restrictions. You have to have very high quality government securities or banks that are approved by the depository institution. Or if I buy investments outside of there, I'm limited to $250,000. I'm pretty sure that interest rates will be lower over the next year as the Federal Reserve is likely to lower rates. And the short end of the yield curve, so basically anything less than 5 years in maturity, is very sensitive to Federal Reserve policy more than what's going on in the economy. And so when we talked to Kyle and his team last week, we said, hey, this is probably the best year we're going to see for the next couple of years. Very confident about the quality of investments. The state has set it up such that you're going to make money. It just will be a little bit less money likely in 2026. Hopefully that answered your question.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes, I have
Councilmember
one.
White?
Okay, thank you for your presentation. On one page, you have the unemployment rate from November 20th to November 25. I think, is that 26 or 25?
That's the most recent one. It goes to November
Mhm.
of 2025.
And so the unemployment rate is expected to increase from it started with 6.7, 3.4, and 4.6. Am I reading
Yes,
this correct?
you-
Okay.
Yeah, this is all backward-looking data. This is not forecasting.
Forward.
This is
So
just
do you
backward-looking data.
So do you have any sense of what the unemployment rates may be as we continue to look at our economy and interest rates moving forward?
It is likely that we will continue to see the unemployment rate tick up probably between where we are today and 5% over the next 12 months. You'll see that a lot of the recent job creation numbers have been much weaker than usual. They've been 50 to 60,000 a month instead of 150 or 200,000, which they were at the first half of 2025. And that will likely mean that the rate will creep up a little bit.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? I just had one quick question. When we talked about investments and how strict the state is about investments, which I understand that, but are the funds that are chosen the only options? Like, does the state say, here's 200 funds and these are the ones you have to select from? Or is it a general, like, they have to be treasury or this percentage and then you go out and find, how are those selected, I guess?
The state basically tells you the type of investments that we can make, and then we make them. We don't use, other than the money market, which is essentially short-term bonds that all meet your state statutes. The rest I'm actually going out and buying in the market, the treasuries, agencies, and CDs. Those are decisions that me and my team are making on a daily basis on behalf of the city.
Okay, thank you. I just kind of got the impression maybe some of those were predetermined or they were restricted on what the choices were available. But
No,
that's not the case.
the choices are, this is the bucket, but the percentage and the weightings within each changes as we see opportunities and what provides the best return for the city.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
I just have one more, Chair.
Sure. Councilmember White?
I'm looking at the fund name and the cash reserve policy. Some need to have cash reserves and some will not. And so as you're looking at our cash reserve policy, but also the funds in which, must have a percentage, are there any concerns at all?
Based on state statutes and
Mhm.
how Kyle has it set up, no concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any other questions.
Thank you very much for your time and working with us.
Thank you. Do you have anything else?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so if there's any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and adjourn the Board of Finance meeting and we'll go into the Personal and Finance meeting. Okay, this meeting's adjourned. It is now 4:23 p.m. and I would like to call the Personal and Finance Committee meeting to order. Clerk Toronto, could you call the roll for the committee, please?
Committee Member Thomas Morgan,
Present.
Committee Member Gooden Rogers, Committee Vice Chair White,
Present.
Committee Chair Niskoski,
Present.
all present.
Thank you. We do have a quorum and our first bill here is Bill 2544. And I got a communication from Dr. Davis and he asked that Bill 2544 be tabled indefinitely. So I would like to entertain a motion to table Bill 2544 indefinitely as per the author.
So moved.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Could you call the roll, please?
Committee Member Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Committee Member Good Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Niskoski.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. Bill 2544 has been tabled indefinitely. Okay, moving on, we're going to move on to Bill 2601. That's a resolution adopting the investment policy for the city of South Bend for the calendar year 2026.
Yes, Kyle Willis, City Controller, offices on the second floor of City Hall. Bill number 26-01. This is a continuation of the policy that was approved last year in 2025. But this is just specific to the approval of allowing the city's investments to be invested in certificates of deposits. So this is a part of the investment instruments that we have access to that need to be approved each year. So this is just an annual approval for to be able to invest in certificates of deposits.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions from committee? Is there any question from any council members? Do you see anybody online? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for the public hearing portion. Is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of Bill 2601?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor of the bill.
Thank you. Is there anyone wishing to speak against?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Okay, thank you. The public hearing portion for this bill is closed. I'll bring it back to the committee. What is the pleasure of the committee regarding the bill?
But like, excuse me, make a motion that Bill 26-01 be sent to the committee of the whole with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
The committee of the whole. Sorry, I'm just looking to see if that's committee of the whole. I believe that's going to be a resolutions that are,
It is a resolution.
so it's,
Well, I'll modify my motion that Bill 26-01 be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
okay, there's been a motion and it's been duly seconded. Could you call the roll, please?
Committee Member Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Committee Member Good Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White, Committee Chair Niskoski.
Aye.
All ayes.
Thank you. Bill 2601 will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. And we'll move right on to Bill 2602.
This one is also a resolution and not a bill. This is more of an administrative action needed for debt proceeds or that we have with the Indiana Finance Authority. They reached out to us just stating that they needed a formal file stating myself as the authorized signer for the city of South Bend. So this approval for this resolution authorizes me as the authorized signer for the city of South Bend. So then they can release some disbursements requests that we have submitted to them for projects related to the city's waterworks and sewage works divisions.
Okay, so this action has to be taken in order for you to do those disbursements.
For them to release them. I mean, obviously, these bonds and proceeds were issued 2 years ago, and they're now just coming to us with this. So
Okay,
they are being held up right now because of this issue.
okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Is there any questions from the committee members?
Yes, I'm just kind of wondering, do you know why this is so long coming before us?
Yeah, because I've asked many times. Part of it, I think, was miscommunication on their part to like our legal counsel at the time when we were going through the issuance of these bonds. there is an authorized signer on file right now, and that's the Director of Department of Public Works, Eric Horvath. But since I'm the person that submits them and they don't have me as an authorized signer
Mhm.
on file for them, then they won't release it. So, like I said, this is more of an administrative, action. But I'm not sure why they didn't catch this before.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Thomas Morgan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Willis. And so then from here on out, you'll be a signature?
Yeah,
on
yeah,
all
they'll,
the
they'll be able
loans.
to
Okay.
take the disbursement request from me and process it and just, get the funds, dispersed. But, in the event that a new controller comes on, the same thing will have to happen again.
Okay, so was it the case that when we had a transition in controllers, I mean, Dan Parker would have been a
I don't
signature
think they
to
had
this, but then,
anything. I don't think they
okay,
had, when they notified me and I asked about this, they only told me that they had Eric Horvath. So I don't think they had Dan Parker ever
I
on
see.
file.
okay, thank you.
Okay, is there any other questions from council members or committee members? Councilmember Bolden Simpson?
Yeah, I think. Every year thing.
No. This is one of the one time only. They just need to have the authorized signers form stating that they are acting on behalf of the city on file.
Thank you. Glad it got straightened out.
Okay, if there's no more questions, I'm going to open it up for the public hearing portion. Is there anyone here online wishing to speak in favor of Bill 2602?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in favor.
Thank you. Is there anyone in person or online wishing to speak against Bill, Resolution 2602?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak in opposition.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing on Resolution 2602. Is there any other additional comments? Okay, I don't see any. I want to thank you, Kyle, for coming before us and explaining everything.
No problem. Thank you.
At this point, I would like to entertain a motion regarding the bill.
Move that Bill 2602 go to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to send 2602 to the full council and duly seconded. Clerk Toronto, could you call the roll, please?
Committee Member Gunn Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Thomas Morgan,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Niskoski,
Aye.
all ayes.
Thank you so much. The bill will be sent to the full council with a favorable recommendation. So that ends the Personal and Finance Committee. And this meeting is now adjourned. The next meeting starts at 4:45 and that'll be community investment.
Aaron, did you say that was?
Yes. Okay. And he called up advanced it. He called me on my phone. So I told him I would give it to you.
I have.
Yeah, he's representing first district.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Chair Warner.
Oh, there you are. I got nervous for a second. So we will call the Community Investment Committee to order. I will take roll call. Vice Chair White,
Present.
Councilmember Gooden Rogers, Councilmember Bolden Simpson,
Present.
and do we have our citizen members there?
We have Mr. Kevin Upton here.
Kevin Upton, how about Tom Gripe?
Tom Gripe is not here.
Okay, so we have a quorum, so we will start with our first bill is Bill 2552, Neighborhood Plan. And I will turn it over to the staff for a resolution approving and adopting the LaSalle Park Neighborhood Plan.
Good afternoon, members of the South Bend Common Council. I'm Chris Dressel with the Department of Community Investment with offices on the 5th floor of this building, and I'm joined by Hannah Sherinian. We'll be providing a brief presentation to you today and asking for your adoption and approval of the resolution that covers the LaSalle Park Neighborhood Plan. Some of you I know are familiar with the plan. We've been in this process for a couple of years. Wasn't intentional to be that long, but we think we've been able to gather a lot of different voices through that process and allow us to, I think, share the plan concepts with a lot of different perspectives from the neighborhood. So we will get started. And the plan, we like to start the plan conversation with sort of stating what is a plan. Sometimes this is sort of a key aspect of understanding what the plans are. So we have a visual description. We have some of those key questions that go with that. What is a plan? But just I think the main thing to keep in mind is that this is meant to be a physical plan. And that's where the graphic comes into play, is to show you that there are, if you look at any neighborhood, you're going to have a portion that's within the public sector, portions that are within the private sector. And we have these, so these become part of the major participants in the success of the plan. And through working together, you find that partnership that gets us to some of those key projects and completing those. It is meant to be a 20-year plan, but I think we'll note later on that there's certainly a wide array of projects that can be completed over time. Some of them are a couple of years or within the first 5 years, not just a 20-year outcome. So the folks that it's for is definitely a lot of decision makers, residents, property owners, and other stakeholders, and then certainly for those that may not even be aware of, we've not sort of introduced them to LaSalle Park yet, those that could be future partners, participants, investors in the neighborhood. And the plan is sort of seen as a way of wrapping up all of the priorities of the neighborhood based on what we've heard from the public, and sort of under one cover, and it gives an opportunity to then share it more easily with all of those audiences. So just a look at the plan area boundary. So I think a typical description of LaSalle Park. The railroad tracks to the north, Western to the south, Sheridan to the west, Meade Street to the east. With all of our plans, I think we try to evolve them and have some new aspects that hadn't been covered in some of our previous neighborhood plan documents. In the case of LaSalle Park, I think we saw a considerable value in sort of looking back to see at this piece of property that we call this land that we call LaSalle Park and all the various things that have happened there. There's a lot of information here. I'm going to sort of summarize it fairly quickly. It's in the plan document. You'll find more detail. But looking at it in sort of a timeline form, you go back to 1000 BC. One of the sort of the setup to the area was it being part of the Grand Kankakee Marsh. LaSalle Park was the headwaters as a south bend of that marsh. Looking over the next few thousand years or so, you'll find that the area then became settled by the native tribes, several native tribes. Eventually, European settlement came based on the proximity of the two river basins, St. Joe and Kankakee. It allowed for a quick connection between those two. But eventually, over time, we saw great reduction in the number of native tribes and ultimately the draining of the marsh. So these are things to remember, and we'll sort of have these connections into the actual project area throughout the plan. The next chapter of the neighborhood, you're sort of looking at, obviously with much of South Bend, you saw a lot of industrialization. You saw the introduction, the need for a workforce. Some of that came through Eastern European workers, but then some of it came from those migrating from the U.S. South, those African-American families. And it became sort of a touch point or a hot point in South Bend with all these new African-American families. Where are they going to live? And it turns out sort of a de facto location for them was LaSalle Park, if only because it was only the location that wasn't where there wasn't any contestment of their residency. So that history begins there. Also saw the development of public housing, some of the first for African Americans. Not shortly after that, you saw a establishment of a dump in the area that's now known as LaSalle Park. So you take that combined with still issues with housing and infrastructure. There was a need to do more of a planning process. So you saw the beginnings of urban renewal in the neighborhood, where the neighbors were involved, but not in a very significant way. And eventually, through that urban renewal, you saw sort of a hot point reached in July of 1967, where it became, I think there was a lot of issues with neighbors sort of taking exception to the neighborhood conditions and the way they were treated by police and others. So out of that plan, out of that urban renewal plan, it did yield LaSalle Park, what eventually became the Charles Black Center. It did restore Beck's Lake, and it did establish what was the first sort of public housing in the area through LaSalle Park Homes. Then into the 80s, you saw sort of a need to revisit what had happened on that former dump site that had been changed into the park. And over time, the EPA was introduced into that, and there were those sites were addressed with soil removal through a process and a public conversation. And then finally, there's the investment, multi-million-dollar investment that's made to the park and to the center. So that's a quick fly through the timeline for the neighborhood. One of the things which, again, draw your attention to some interesting aspects. I think one of the things that you hear about the neighborhood are sort of soil conditions and sort of their suitability for building. Again, we're still talking about what essentially is a marsh bottom that hasn't changed. And so we lined up a few things together, and I think interesting to us, definitely to find that if you look at those elevation lines, particularly the area sort of in dark green here on the left, you'll see area below the 710 elevation more or less is an area that's never been developed upon ever. And there's sort of there's a correlation happening there to some degree. And if you then look at the image on the right-hand side, you'll see that overlap between the dark green properties. These are those properties that have never been developed. Obviously, the ones in yellow, the ones in light green are currently developed, had been developed at one time, but that category of never developed, there's a pretty strong connection between this lower lying land and there not being developed sites there. So one last thing before we move on to the projects. We went through a process here, fairly typical for our neighborhood plans. Started with stakeholder meetings. We moved on to our outreach. So we're sending mailings, we're getting flyers, other things. We had a housing panel. For those of you that might recall that, we brought in some of the local experts and had them share successes with the neighborhood. Then followed by a visioning workshop where we collected sort of the building blocks for the neighborhood projects. Followed that up fairly quickly with a priorities workshop. We're looking to know which of these visions are of highest priority. And then more recently, we had a series of open houses in November of last year, where we took we unveiled the plan in a draft status and also showed some of those key project components for the first time. And so we had opportunity for folks to give feedback by attending those meetings, by reading the plan online, and by communicating with staff otherwise. So today we're here for asking for your adoption of the resolution so we can see a completion of the neighborhood plan for LaSalle Park. I'm going to turn it over to Hannah, and she's going to provide us details about the plan projects.
Hello. Do I need to move this? Hello. Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah Shrinian, and we're going to get into the bulk of the neighborhood plan. So here are all of the proposed projects. We have 12 of them here. For the sake of time, I'm going to run through these in categories. But firstly, I want to show you where they are all located on the map. In the neighborhood, we have them scattered throughout to really touch almost the whole neighborhood with these projects. So we have these projects separated into different categories. Our first category is housing. Housing was one of the biggest conversations that we had throughout the engagement process. So we wanted to highlight that by prioritizing it here first. So we address housing through infill and some denser units throughout the neighborhood. And we have 4 projects dedicated to housing. And then the next category is green space. Because of the LaSalle Park neighborhood being in that lake bottom, there is a real amenity of having a lot of available green space. So these projects can reutilize those spaces that aren't being used to their best potential right now. And then going into infrastructure, we have 3 projects dedicated to improving the infrastructure in the neighborhood, from a trail to exploring different street connections, connecting back to Western, and then how we can further promote mixed use along the Western Avenue. And then to start first, we're going to look at priority infill housing throughout the neighborhood. And it's a little small, but there's yellow boxes on the map, and that represents current vacant land to put houses on. So we target this corner of the neighborhood first for the priority housing. So that goes from Chicago, Illinois, Wellington, Kenmore to Falcon. And we are suggesting this area of the neighborhood first because it doesn't have those topography challenges like the rest of the neighborhood does, and because there is already a high density of housing in this region. So it will have the maximum impact of infill housing. And then, so currently there is an entire vacant block on Kenmore in Washington, and it's right across from LaSalle Park homes. Current block is empty, so we are proposing infill with a little bit higher density along Washington Street. So those are represented here by townhomes, and we think that the higher density is appropriate because it's right across from LaSalle Park homes. And then moving forward into the LaSalle Park improvements itself, we have aerials of the park and looking onto the lake. you can see that there's a walking trail that just goes around the lake. It doesn't go throughout the whole park itself. And then if you look at the aerial or the perspective shot, looking into the neighborhood from the lake, it's not really engaging residents visually into the amenity that the lake is. So then we are suggesting a walking path that goes completely through the park, and incorporating the current walking path as well as more parking along Linden for the users. People park there already, so this will just make it safer for everyone that currently uses that space. And then to talk to the lake, so we're suggesting adding a fountain or a bubbler. So this adds to the aesthetics. It brings it back to being that amenity. It also helps aerate the water for bugs in the summer. And then also adding a dock to help engage residents with the water and just peering above. That connects to the current walking trail, and it really invites the people into this lake rather than how it currently is that you have to peer from a little bit afar. And then you can also see in C located there on the map. So that is our suggested tree nursery. So this tree nursery really is a concept, an idea of just reutilizing that vacant space into something productive. We are not saying that this space needs to be a tree nursery right here, just that concept could be applied throughout the neighborhood in those locations that were never developed. And then the last project we're going to highlight is the Linden Avenue Trail. I got this picture from Google Street View. You can see there's someone picking up trash. They caught them when they were walking, when they were driving by for this. So this area has a lot of dumping happening. It's because it's private property. There's no curbs. It's very easy to just pull up your trash and leave it there. So then we are suggesting to fully utilize the right-of-way along those properties. So this would be adding a fence to fully designate private versus public land. This will help for if someone still does dump, the city can come pick it up way easier. This will add lighting, benches, a trail, as well as a curb. And so this will make it a lot easier for people to use the space at all, and it also will slow down traffic as well. And then moving further into the streetscape improvements and traffic calming. So we heard from the residents that there needs to be traffic improvements on Linden Avenue and Washington Street, as well as traffic calming on Sheridan Street, Falcon, and Cayley, as well as intersection improvements throughout. You can see those with the orange circles. So that's both pedestrian intersection improvements as well as drivers. And then moving to the bike infrastructure. So we have almost all of the bike infrastructure in the neighborhood existing as a shared use path. So that is a wider sidewalk, basically, for cyclists to use. And then the biggest proponent of how this trail works is to connect these three areas. So it's connecting Kennedy Park to the LaSalle Park and to the Washington High School, as well to the new Western Branch Library. So it's very important to connect LaSalle Park to the greater bike infrastructure of South Bend, and this will further that. And then moving on to land use and building types. So these are all the current zones in the zoning code, but LaSalle Park only has these in the neighborhood. So that's the ones we're going to be focusing on today. So this is the current zoning of LaSalle Park neighborhood. You can see a lot of U1. There's not really any density outside of the LaSalle Park homes. So this is what we are suggesting. I want to point out the dotted black line that you see. So this directly reflects that 710 elevation line that we showed earlier to represent where potential green spaces could be. We're not designating any current areas for a green space, but this is just for further consideration as this plan moves forward. And then to talk specifically about the changing from U1 to U2. So this would be allow for slightly higher densities. So this allows for duplexes and then up to 4 units on a lot. So that reflects that those townhomes on Kenmore that was showed in the projects earlier, as well as higher density along Washington Street. And then the other change in the zoning is neighborhood center commercial, from commercial to neighborhood center. So this would make it to where they cannot develop any more automotive services or retail, as well as not allowing for any more liquor stores or gas stations. And this promotes having neighborhood-friendly businesses, as well as the walkability along Western Avenue to have more of a draw for people to walk to those businesses. And then lastly, we have our implementation plan. So this is just an example of how we get these how we are suggesting to get these projects done. So it's going to start with an action item. The first one that we have in there is the Linden Avenue. So an example would be to complete the streetscape improvements, improve intersections, pedestrian crossings, and the shared use path near the Linden Park, or sorry, near LaSalle Park. And then to who is going to be getting that action item done or leading that action item. We have it listed here as the city, and because the city is leading that action, there is no potential partners for that action item. And then we have it parsed out to how long this action will take. We have it for this one to be 1 to 5 years, but the categories are 1 to 5, 5 to 10, and then 10 plus. And then lastly, we do want to thank all the residents and leaders of the LaSalle Park neighborhood, especially Councilwoman Ophelia Gooden Rogers, Lynn Coleman, Marvin Creighton, and George Jones, Pastor Larry Davidson, and Stacy Odom. Thank you guys for listening.
Thank you. Take questions from committee members. I'll start with our second district councilwoman, Ms. Gooden Rogers.
Well, I don't have any questions. I just think that it's a great plan, and I'll be glad when the process starts. And I'm so glad that the city and the LaSalle Park neighbors did come together and come up with some plans. And it's been long awaited, so it's time to move forward.
Thank you. Any other committee members with questions? Councilmember White?
Yes, I just first would want to thank the LaSalle Neighborhood Association. This has been a long time coming, and I'm very appreciative in regards to the openness to make modifications to get us to this point, and that the neighbors and the associations were heard. I do have one question in terms of the lot vacancy, and that's on this map here. I think it's page 18. It's made mention never developed lots. So are we saying that those lots are not in a condition to have housing, or is open for housing?
So we're saying with that one is we just looked at historic aerial imagery. They just have not been developed. We're not saying that they can't be, just nobody has yet.
Okay, and then the other that's in light green is that those are the vacant lots. Do you know the number of these lots over here that could be developed and the vacant lots? You can send that later on.
Yeah, so
Okay.
any of the lots can be developed on. These are just, the light green are the ones that are currently vacant, but had been developed previously. But we can send those numbers. I think they are in the plan, but if not, we'll check.
Okay, then. And housing was one of the number one concerns that the neighbors had, as well as just having availability to stores and to walk and to really clean up the neighborhood. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Bolden Simpson.
Thank you, Chairman. Not a question, but I just want to let you know that I really appreciate that curbing in that area where there's that dumping, and also the changing of the zoning so we can curtail gas stations and liquor stores. Let's make this a true neighborhood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Being nobody else, we'll go to the public now and then come back to the committee and council. Do we have any members of the public wishing to speak regarding the LaSalle Park neighborhood plan?
Yes, we do. They're coming to the podium.
Thank you.
My name is Stacy Odom. Do you need the address? 209 East Bronson Street, South Bend, Indiana, 46601. I'm here to speak on the plan for the LaSalle Park neighborhood. And first I want to say that I'm really happy to say that I feel like we actually have a relationship now. That the city of South Bend is actually listening to the residents, and we're working together to build our neighborhood. I don't feel like it's a takeover, but I still have some concerns. So I don't think that in any plan you agree with everything, but for this plan, I agree with it. I want it to go forward. I want us to keep working together. So I'll start with the going through the things I would like to speak about. So number one, when you look at the map, it has like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it goes down. So number one is priority housing area. I agree with that. Number two is medium density residential infill. That's great. Number three is LaSalle Park Homes renovation. That's great. Work with property owners to conserve Kankakee Marsh. I like that. Also think we had talked about low-bearing fruit. I think that should be some of the first low-bearing fruit because I think residents will be excited when they can see work being done. And that's something they said they could do right away. So the LaSalle Park walking trail that would continue around the rest of the park. That would be low-bearing, low-hanging fruit. And then the Linden Avenue with the benches and the trash cans and the fence, some more low-hanging fruit that we spoke about. And then Beth's Lake improvement with deck. And it sounds like it'll be safe. I mean, we know 60% of Black people can't swim. So it's a fact. So we want to make sure we got rails and everything so kids and people will be safe, you know, since we don't want anybody drowning. And so then we get to number 9, which is the grove of trees that they had put down on Washington. Now, when I spoke with Hannah and Chris, this plan is just a plan. It's not anything that's 100% solidified. We're still working together to move towards that. And I disagree with this because a lot of that is my property and I would not want it for that use. I want to bring to mind that the city of South Bend started redeveloping back in the 50s. My family came in the 40s. We used to live at 209 South Iowa Street. So when you came through before, our house was tore down. I'm from a family of 10 and 2 parents. We didn't have anywhere to go. We had relatives here, but nobody really wanted to take us in because you don't want 12 people living with you, 10 kids and 2 adults. So by the grace of God, Mr. Baptiste built us a house across the street. And that whole process was a miracle. The whole process of building a house directly across the street was a miracle for my family. Because a lot of houses that were torn down out there, people were moved to different places in the city of South Bend. They no longer lived on the lake. But we were able to stay. That's what my parents wanted, and we were able to build right across the street. Not with any help of the city of South Bend, but with Mr. Baptiste and the grace of God. So, number 10 is the Iowa Street Park. Now, I totally disagree with the Iowa Street Park because once again, that would be my property. And I don't want my house to be a park when I live right down the street from a park. I think a great place to put a smaller park would be where it says, "Welcome to the LaSalle Park neighborhood." That would be a nice place for a smaller park. We wouldn't be gentrifying anyone. And when I did a survey for Mayor Pete for the city of South Bend to see what residents want, it was an official survey. I don't remember the name, but I can find it out for you. Most of the residents who wanted a smaller park lived between Meade and Cayley. And the reason they wanted a smaller park, they were mostly Hispanic people and white people. And when I personally talked to them, because I personally knocked on every door and did the survey for that whole area that is on this map for the LaSalle Park plan. And they were saying, well, we want a smaller park to send our kids to and we could feel safe. And I said, well, why don't you feel safe? And they said, well, it's so many things that happen down there. Somebody got, stabbed before and shot before. I said, that happens all over the whole city. It's not just in LaSalle Park. I said, and not only that, most of the people who committed crimes in our park don't even live in our neighborhood. I mean, anybody can come to the park. And so I'm thinking that if we did do a smaller park, it would be wise to put it where it's closer to their home and not taking mine. That's another reason I think it would be a good idea. So I'm 100% against any park on Iowa Street where it says the Iowa Street Park. Let me just check my note for a second, please. Oh, I also want to say that since you started in the 50s, and I know with the vacant land that's out there, And we did the treescape. I just got done talking about that. And they said, of course, it's nothing definite. We're just doing a plan. That was like 6 decades ago. So that's like 60 some years. I haven't had my property that long. My parents have had our house almost that long or more. But the property that I've purchased on the lake, I haven't had that long. And I feel like I deserve the exact same amount of time that the city of South Bend took to develop the lake that they're doing now. I think I deserve 60 years too to work on my property. Do you understand what I'm saying? You took a long time to come back. You went through that neighborhood, you tore down all those houses, all those people moved to different areas. And now we're starting over again. So when I see Iowa Street Park, it disturbs me because we lost one house that way. I don't want to lose a second one that way. So I'm saying that with all the property that through hard work and the grace of God that I've been able to accomplish on the lake, I want the same amount of time to fix my property up the way I want to. I also want to say about the street connections. So we have a lot of cul-de-sacs in our street and once in our neighborhoods. Once they were there because of race riots and they were put there to separate the people from black from white. But we don't look at those streets like that anymore. Now I know we want them to stay just the way they are with the exception of Bendix streets. Because I know DJ wants Bendix open and I know Lynn wants Bendix open. I don't have any problem with that. And when I surveyed and talked to other people, they didn't have a problem with it either. But the rest of our streets, we want them to remain closed as cul-de-sacs. And we would like the signs that say, welcome to LaSalle Park. They have different entryways that you can put on it and you can still walk and bike trail through it. That's what we want for those streets. And I also agree with number 12, which is Western Avenue mixed use. Anybody have questions?
Thank you, Ms. Odom.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
We have anyone else?
Yes, we have one more coming to the podium.
Yeah, you may have another one back.
Mr. Jones.
Well, hi, good afternoon. My name is George L. Jones. I live at 256 North Sheridan, 46619, South Bend, Indiana. I applaud the work that Tim, Chris, and Hannah has done. They have been very transparent in everything that they have shared with this community out there. They have hosted a number of meetings trying to get input. They were very transparent in terms of sharing with us the plan that they had in their hand, something tangible that people could look at and understand what there is a possibility that these changes could be implemented. My whole thing is that I can recall, I think it was in the late 60s when I went away to college. I was a former project kid, and I remember them saying that they were going to tear down the projects. And so I was ecstatic to hear that they're going to tear these barracks down. That's what I used to call them, barracks, because they look like army barracks to me, you know. But there were people that were very proud of what they had. They will maintain them, they were well kept. But I can recall, as I went away, I was so ecstatic, as I indicated earlier. But when I came back home, there were some new barracks. So I was very disheartened, very disappointed. The fact that, and matter of fact, they're still out there. Those ones that are built now were the ones that were built when I came home from college. And the reason why I said it, because of the fact that I feel that anytime you're going to change a community, there should be a change. Okay. And I challenge Tim, I challenge Chris, as well as Hannah. I said, Hannah, you guys need to look at this thing from a different perspective. Think out of the box. Think out of the box. Do something that would be innovative. Do something that would change. Would you want to live out there? Think about them when you go home. What would make you want to live out on that side of town? I've lived out there basically all my life. And I didn't get a response. I got some facial expressions. But I don't know if they were ready for that particular statement. And so I kept working with them and so forth. I said, think about it. I said, this is a prime time to be innovative and do something different. I said, do you realize that we got the Amazon plant being built west of us? Do you realize that they got the lithium battery plant being, and I drive by those things, and they're humongous. They tell me that there's thousands of people that work out there. They tell me that LaPorte is at this particular time developing land for housing. I say, think about that. That means that there's been an influx of people coming to South Bend. And sure enough, our particular side of town is not that far from those two industries. So why not consider putting some mixed homes out there, mixed income homes, things that will attract people to that community, things that will improve the social, economical, and political area out there. Why maintain the same thing you have? I heard Stacy say that they were displaced because of the fact that there was some change out there. But it wasn't that much change, because what came back was basically what was already there. But I'm saying, being innovative, think about doing something great. Think about doing something that you can be proud of. South Bend took the audacity, the initiative to do something that nobody else has done. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, thank you. Thought y'all
Good
mad-
evening. I'm sorry, my mic.
I thought y'all was mad at me or something. My name is Lynn Coleman, and I was raised at 238 North Kenmore Street on the lake. And when we were kids, the real lake was Meade Street to Chicago Street, Western Avenue to, they call it now Linden. We called it the Dump Road. That was the real lake. I am grateful to the city of South Bend and the Community Investment Group for engaging in this project. And as I ride through the neighborhood and the community, I see all the time the need that you guys have talked about in this plan. But for me, it's not just bricks and mortar, which is important. But we need to build character and hope, opportunity. And when I think about that, sitting there a while ago, I thought about Mr. Perry being the first Black and only true pharmacist in this town. I thought about Mr. Ed Myers being, if not the first, one of the first Black principals in this city. I thought about Dave Davis and Billy Kirk, local pastors from this community. Alma Powell, principal, educator in this community. Karen White served on the city council. All those people that I named and more. Charles Black, born and raised in that community. And we don't have those people there anymore. And I think as we build new structures and we change streets, and we need to make sure that we work on developing a community or a neighborhood that will strengthen the minds and the hearts and the personality of the people that live there. That 20 years from now, 30 years from now, they can stand here and represent that community in this city. That's extremely, extremely important. I'm grateful for all the things that the city and the investment group has done. But hopefully, we're not just steadfast on the structured plan, but that you'll look forward to opportunities to make changes and differentials and stuff like that, to not only make it buildings, but that we make it the heart of the community. And somebody will be able to stand up and say that they're proud to be able to say that they're from that community. I am extremely grateful to it, and hopefully we'll be able to make that community, or continue to make that community, one of the places in this town that people will be proud to say that I am from LaSalle Park, the lake, the real park. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else?
I do not see anyone in person or online wishing to speak in favor. Wait, we might have one more. I'm sorry.
So sorry, I forgot to say this before, but I remember when I met Chris and Hannah at the park to go over the plan. And I was looking at the plan and I saw the people on the plan, and I was staring at it, but I wasn't sure that I was seeing what I thought I was seeing. That Hannah thought so much of helping us come together and improving that even the people on the plan are people of color. So thank you, Hannah. I appreciate that. It just showed a lot of care when I met with Chris and all the people that have come throughout the years. We appreciate building a relationship that we feel is better now, a lot better. We look forward to building our community together. We really do. So thank all of you.
Thank you. With that, we'll close the public hearing. I'll take it back to the committee. We're quite a bit behind here. I'm going to ask folks if you got any more comments, to hold them to 7. Anybody else have something they need to say?
Can I just say something, Chairperson? So all 3 of the people that got up and spoke, you did not say you did not want the plan. So I'm with y'all because you've been waiting on this a long time. So what I need to know is this a plan you want or a plan you don't want? Because you didn't really say you didn't want it or you wanted it.
It's a plan.
I'm to the.
Certainly ask that this board would support this plan and vote it in tonight. And I'm sure that the people that are standing here with me, Mrs. Lynn Roundtree Collar, Mr. Jones, Mrs. Odom, myself, we would all support the plan.
Yes. We just want to be able to continue to work together as a group, like the relationship that we
develops.
have. Yeah, we want to continue that. That's what we're saying. We're so happy about, and we want to continue to work together as a team to move it forward. Not just their ideas, not just our ideas, but working together as a team. We do want it, yes.
Because I was taken by your speeches that you came here and you didn't want the plan. So I want to be because I want you to be happy, because this might not be done differently again. So we would need to get something in there in order to have something to start working with. So you want the plan?
We definitely want to.
Okay.
All the work, I tried to address that in my delivery in terms of my excitement and so forth, okay? And the fact that they invited us to have some input into the plan. Yes, we definitely support the plan, okay? And we will continue to work with them in the development of the plan. As they say, it was only a skeleton, not the concrete permanent plan that we will eventually have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time,
Good
can I-
afternoon. I just wanted to add on to everything that they have said. My name is Lynn Collier. Lived on the west side of South Bend for a long time all my life. And
Can we get your
I'm very
address?
thrilled.
Ms. Collier,
that-
can we get your address?
4916 West Washington Street. I'm right across the street from Washington High School. I'm interested and I'm elated that we're doing this once again. This isn't our first attempt to develop LaSalle Park. And as always, it seems like we'll get to step 3, 4, 5 or something, run out of money, wait till the next time around, and there we are. And now here we are. So I hope that you mentioned some time elements, 60 years. I don't know, I hope that would be the case. However, even 1 to 5 is questionable. Weather like this, Anyway, I'd like to also support the plan. I'm very thrilled that there's monies available and brain power, and we're all working together to make this work. But let's not forget that Western Avenue is the entryway into South Bend, Indiana. And LaSalle Park is on your way east. So when there's things to be done, why don't we ever start on the west side of town and start doing these things? I complained about fire hydrants being painted. They started painting them. I am so thrilled to go out my door, go down to the corner and see a new fire plug or it's painted. Little things like you say that we can look at and say, somebody is finally doing something. So yes, we support the plan. We also would like to all have the opportunity to tweak it as it goes along. I see a lot of stuff that here or there when we get to it. But if it's going to take 60 years, I may not be around for it. So I just wanted to go on record that, yes, we support the plan. And hopefully we will all be here to not only witness it, but take part in helping you develop it and hurry up.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This time, do I have a motion?
Yes.
Chair Warner, can you accept the substitute, please?
Then I guess I would like to make a motion. Clerk, is that appropriate to accept the substitute version of this resolution? Say that again. I made a
Second.
motion to accept the substitute version of Resolution 2603, if I'm correct.
This is Bill
Second.
2552.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
What? Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
2552.
The substitute was filed after the packet and agenda went out on Thursday.
Okay, because we don't have to substitute. That's what I was looking for. Okay, it's been second.
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Citizen Member Kevin Upton,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. Now I would entertain a motion regarding the substitute.
Bill number, what is it gonna change to? 2552?
It's
Be moved
25.
to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Committee Member Gooden Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Member Kevin Upton,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner,
Aye.
5 ayes.
Thank you. I apologize to the next committee. We're quite a bit behind schedule. We'll move on to Bill 2603.
Good evening, committee members. Caleb Bauer. I'm Executive Director of Community Investment with offices on the 5th floor of this building. Before you today is a resolution proposing modifications to the development plan of the River West development area. And this proposal, it would establish 8 new allocation areas within the River West development area Most of the proposed allocation areas, actually all of them, are already part of the existing River West development area, which is an existing tax increment financing capture area. What we're proposing today is setting a new base rate that starts a new clock on these 8 new allocation areas. The purpose of this request is in concert with the creation of a new state allocation area called an Innovation Development District, which would capture certain forms of state tax revenue, sales and income tax, and remit incremental revenues to be retained within this district and reinvested instead of them going down to the state government and being distributed out for state governmental operations and other uses. So this is a long story short, we need to make modifications to the TIF areas before the IDD allocation area is established, because state statute would prohibit any modifications to TIF areas that fall within an IDD allocation area after it has been established. This is something that's been part of a longstanding negotiation process with the state of Indiana. We've been working with the state team at IEDC for more than a year now in exploring this concept, and we're really excited to be at this point. So I'm going to take just a couple minutes. I'll try to move relatively quickly. I know we're past our time, but just a couple minutes to walk you through what is an IDD and why is it ultimately really an exciting opportunity for South Bend. So the IDD footprint is shown here on this map. You can see it includes areas of the downtown. It's not everything in the downtown. It's been drawn in such a way as to focus on areas that are underdeveloped. So think parking lots, vacant buildings, underutilized property in general in the downtown area. And now what we'll be doing is we'll be setting a new base rate to capture property tax increment, which we can normally do with our TIF tools, but also now to capture any incremental sales and income tax that occur within the area from its effective start date, which would be March 15th of this year. So in the property tax scenario, we can capture incremental property tax over the next 25 years. So any increases in property tax over the next 25 years will be retained within this district. But then also those state incremental taxes. That has a separate lifespan of 30 years. We do have an agreement with the state of Indiana that governs how these revenues can be used. So no more than 20% of any individual project can receive state incremental taxes. This is similar to many of the state grant programs that we've already participated in, like the READY 1.0 and READY 2.0 programs. So we've mirrored that same language. And right now, there are more than $1 billion in private investments contemplated in this footprint. And so having this tool in our tool belt will enable us to ensure that those projects can move forward and to support if there are necessary infrastructure improvements, especially in the broader downtown area, to actualize those. So a great example of that would be stormwater management. Most of the downtown area is still in a combined sewer system, which means if you cannot retain your stormwater on site, you're not able to send it into our stormwater system because it's going to be it's not a separated sewer where you've got separated stormwater versus wastewater. Our combined system is at its capacity generally, and we do not, as a standard practice, we do not add new flow into that combined system. That's to prevent outfalls into the St. Joseph River. The long-term control plan, which Eric Horvath's team has talked to you about, works to manage that and actually continue to minimize outfalls into the river. But what that means is if you cannot retain all of your stormwater on site, you're in a little bit of a tough spot. Well, in a downtown area, it's very hard to retain all stormwater on site. If you're going to build a large building, you cannot retain stormwater underneath a building, generally. And so that's been something as we've worked through the draft downtown plan, as we've been working through this IDD, one example of where some of these funds could be particularly helpful is in a broader regional stormwater management solution that makes sure that we're maximizing the stormwater retained on site, but in some specific circumstances, working on a shared solution that can ensure that we're able to manage stormwater, but also we're able to get the urban density that you would want to see in a downtown core. So continuing on, the IDD agreement with the state of Indiana, we have reached an agreement with the state. They would be willing to remit up to $15 million annually in state sales and income tax over that 30-year period. We would have to grow into that. We're not going to immediately be anywhere close to that, but over a number of years, the state has allowed us to set that cap. I think that's really exciting. We have a similar type of tax capture tool with the professional sports and convention development area. You might recall we've gone back to the state legislature a number of times to raise that cap, and they've been supportive, which has been wonderful. What's nice about having a $15 million cap here is we've got many years of runway to grow into this tool without needing to go back to the legislature for adjustments. The first $7.5 million of that $15 million will be remitted to the local government, pretty much no questions asked, for use as governed by the agreement within the district. The second 7.5 million, so let's say 7.6 million plus, would need to be in coordination with IDC. So that would just require some conversations with IDC, making sure that there's alignment between the state agency and the city of South Bend of what we're seeking to use those funds for. Right now, the contract with the state would set a maximum contribution of $225 million over the lifetime of the IDD over that 30 years. That is something the state's already indicated, if we're 20 years down the line and we've reached that cap, and there's a lot of exciting growth happening, that the state would be open to amendments that would raise that cap in the future, but they needed to have a starting point at this time. And then lastly, the most important part is the agreement with the state would designate this district and set its base rate on March 15th of this year. So what's before you today is actually separate but related matter, which is the establishment of those TIF areas. We are not able to make any adjustments to a TIF area within an IDD over its entire lifespan. So we had proposed to the state, we will establish new TIF areas immediately prior to the establishment of this IDD, and then we can't touch those for the lifetime of the IDD. So what's before you today is, again, creating 8 new allocation areas within the River West development area. Each of those separately would have a 25-year lifespan after the issuance of a financing within them. That's why there are 8 areas instead of just one large area. And the reason for that is you can capture increment before starting that 25-year lifespan if we are not issuing a financing within one of these given allocation areas. So coming before you at your next meeting will be a proposal to issue a financing in one of the 8 allocation areas. That will now then start a 25-year clock in that allocation area. But the other 7 can be capturing increment, but not have a 25-year expiration until such time that we issue a financing within them. That's the reason for having so many allocation areas. Overall, there's going to be huge ROI for the city of South Bend and for the state of Indiana. Our projections in a full build-out scenario, if we have development on all the parcels contemplated in the IDD, it would generate more than $45 million in state taxes. That's a pretty conservative estimate annually. So the state is only needing to remit 33% of those back to us to unlock what is an exciting downtown development plan. And so that's been part of the return on investment for the state of Indiana and why they've chosen to move forward with this partnership. It's an exciting partnership because this is a novel use of an innovation development district. This is one of the first in the state of Indiana. So there are not very many already established, and this is the first being established in a downtown urban core type area. So we're excited that the state was willing to consider this. Our local delegation has been key in advancing legislation that made this possible. And also the budget committee conducted a review of this late last year and gave its approval. So it's been a team effort. Our local delegation, as well as our city team, as well as the state administration coming together and making a really exciting, transformative tool a possibility for us. So as I mentioned, there's the 8 allocation areas, same map you saw before. And then I'll just give a teaser on first reading before council tonight is the first economic development agreement that would be contemplated using this tool. So though tonight is not a consideration of that agreement, I just wanted you to understand what the IDD can help us unlock. And that's the Colfax Corner project, which is a partnership between Ancora and the University of Notre Dame to redevelop the South Bend Tribune building and do a full redevelopment of the Main Street Row properties. So $154 million project that will bring more than 400 jobs into the downtown area. Again, I won't get too far into the details of this one because that is just on first reading tonight, but just to give you context of what types of projects can be unlocked by having this tool. And what's exciting about this is of those 400 jobs, the income taxes paid by those jobs can be retained locally and used as part of the incentive package to make sure that it's able to go forward. With that, I will stop here. I know we're way past our time, and I'm always happy to go on longer at 7 o'clock if you'd like, but I'll stop and take your questions.
Thank you. Committee members, questions? I can't see anybody sitting in there, so if you.
Anybody?
Not on the committee, but I just have a quick question. Mr. Bauer,
Councilmember.
you mentioned that this was the first in the state of Indiana IDD in a downtown district, and there are a few across the state. Could you just name examples of what the others might have been?
Yeah, I think the most well-known is the LEAP district in Lebanon, which is a much larger footprint industrial district. That is the other existing IDD in the state. I think a few others are contemplated, but I think what's interesting about this tool, other states have used these types of tax capture tools like we're proposing. And so that's where we had brought this before the state administration. But I think this is a much different use than you see in the LEAP district, where you're really focusing on industrial users and really large format development, versus here we're focusing on infilling and redeveloping a downtown core. Thank you.
Okay, seeing nobody else at this time, we'll go to the public and then come back. Any members of the public wishing to speak on Bill 2603, establishment of the Innovation Development District areas?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak on the bill.
Okay, we bring it back to the committee and the council. I will say, it's very exciting. I tried to, at Redevelopment Commission, explain it. I think most simply, these are areas where we expect to grow jobs or sales. And this tool allows us to capture the payroll taxes or the sales taxes from those jobs and sales. And instead of going to Indianapolis, we keep them here to put in and help fund those projects. I think it is most simplest. I want to thank Mr. Bauer and the administration and our state reps for their work on this. It's a very exciting tool. Any other committee members or councilman?
Councilman Warner, it's me.
President Lee?
Yes. Caleb, how soon will all of this kick in to start once it's approved and?
Yeah, so once it's approved, March 15th will be the date that the sales and income tax base rate is set. So then we'll know what was being collected effective March 15th of 2026. Any new taxes on these parcel IDs will be considered incremental taxes that would be remitted back. As far as, large amounts of increment being captured, it won't be until the first tier of projects are actually completed, occupied, and open. So the Colfax Corner project, I know, will move relatively quickly, but it'll still take more than a year for those incremental taxes to be captured. But what we're able to do is, through the form of an economic development agreement, we're able to issue a financing that supports the project, that then the debt service obligation is paid using those future tax revenues. So though we won't have a significant share of incremental taxes this year, having the tool in place allows us to capture over a longer period of time, those incremental taxes and use them to bring cash up front into a deal.
And how many companies do we have that are interested in developing because of this incentive?
Well, I think, we've got an innovation district that will develop in the Colfax Corner property that includes both the university, but then other potential research partners, other tenants. So there's a number there in conversations. And then I think having the tool in place will enable us to, generate new leads, support other projects that are in the pipeline. So there's a number that are, in negotiation. And then there's also kind of your second tier of what's now possible now that we've got this tool in our tool belt. And I think we haven't fully peeled that onion back just because we've been focused on getting the tool established.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, I would entertain a motion then.
Move to send Bill 2603 with a favorable recommendation to the whole council.
It was seconded.
It's been second.
Then move.
Committee Member Good Rogers,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Citizen Member Kevin Upton,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Warner.
Aye.
5 ayes.
All right, with that, the bill will go forward to 7 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Committee investment is adjourned. I'm gonna go take some cold medicine.
Okay. Good evening. We can go right into the community relations meeting. Is there a presenter for this bill?
I need to take the roll.
Okay.
Committee Member Niskoski,
Present.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Present.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Present.
Committee Chair Good Rogers.
Present.
4 ayes. 4 present.
Good evening, council. My name is Kenneth Lee, address at 1929 North Huey Street. And we do have to accept a substitute.
It is a substitute bill. I mean, resolution, I'm sorry.
Yep.
So I would like to make a motion to accept the substitute, resolution of Bill 2604.
Second. Second it.
Can accept it all in unison.
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
Are we accepting the substitute? So
Yeah.
you can just say aye if
Aye.
you,
Oh, I
all
didn't
in
hear you.
favor.
Mhm.
Because you all are in person, not online,
Mhm.
so we can just do a unison vote. Yes, so all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, hello, again, I'm Kenneth Lee, address 1929 Huey Street. And this is a resolution for the South Bend Common Council appointing Sharon Benacki and Cominique Thomas to 3-year terms as members of the Community Police Review Board. We had Ms. Thomas, who is on the board, moved out of the district, so she is now at large. And Mrs. Benacki is replacing the person from the 6th district.
You only read, I see 3 names here, but you only read 2.
Oh. Oh, and we're also appointing George Jones. It's not on the resolution, but we're appointing George Jones to the Citizens Police Review Board also.
Do we have
That's the reason it's a substitute.
All right.
Okay.
So, any questions? Are we all clear?
Yeah, clear.
Okay.
Do we have, clerk, do we have anyone from the public wish to speak on Bill 2604?
I do not see any members of the public in person or online wishing to speak at this time.
Do we have, I'm gonna bring it back to the committee and the council. Anybody wish to speak on Bill 2604? Then can I entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to send a resolution, the substitute Bill 2604 to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Committee Member Nisgowsky,
Aye.
Committee Member Bolden Simpson,
Aye.
Committee Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Committee Chair Gooden Rogers.
Aye.
I have 4 ayes.
At this time, then this completes this, community relations, committee. Thank you.